Oh, hi, YouTube. It is I, Racket, or Racket, or whatever you want to call me at this point. I'm back with a Muse thing. It's been a minute. I don't think I've done one of these since Unraveling. I kind of skipped out Be With You and Cryogen, which I liked both a lot. Cryogen, very much a lot, and I will talk more about them once the album comes out. But Hexagons has released the latest single from the Wow Signal, Muse's 10th album, and I've been listening to it over the weekend and through yesterday with the official release properly coming out. I mean, it was all official. For those that don't know, Muse did a kind of scavenger treasure hunt dealio around the world where they'd post a location of some city blocks and an image, and then they'd post actual coordinates later on, and in that area there would be a QR code and a poster with some lyrics from the song, and that QR code would take you to the Muse website and give you around 55 seconds off the track. Splitting the track up into 6 parts. Hexagons. Sydney, what was it? Sydney, New York, Mexico City, Paris, London, and LA were the 6 cities. Whether they lead into something ahead of the Wow Signal they're releasing on June 26th, June 25th, June 26th. Whether they lead to like any promo gigs before that, because so far there's still only the US summer tour of the amphitheaters that they're doing. That is on the docket for giggy stuff, so I feel there's got to be some promo gigs in there somewhere, whether any of that'll tie in or they just pick 6 big cities around the world. Who knows? But yeah, and each individual part that was released was not in order, so I think we got something like 3, 5, 6, 4, 2, 1, or it was some combination. It was some combination of thing. The intro was the last part we got, and the outro was at least in the first half on the first day, because it was kind of split across Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if I recall correctly. But yeah, I've been feeling things with this release. I've been really feeling things. I think this song is very special, to say the least, for where I am with Muse, and I kind of want to talk through that. For anyone who hasn't seen these videos before, they aren't your usual reaction videos. I'm gonna talk for a long time, as evidenced by being here 3 minutes in and not really talking much about the song, which I know is a bane for people on the internet. I'm not getting straight into it, but it's not like I don't care about fucking getting people viewing YouTube for ages or whatever. It is like I really want to like express my opinion out here. I wouldn't exactly call it a video essay, but you know, I really want to get down into like the being too verbose and talking too much about things and just expressing that emotion as someone who's followed Muse for 23 years and enjoys thinking a bit deeper about music, even if I'm not maybe educationally knowledgeable on say particular music terms and actual like music work. Since the last time I have like kind of started playing virtual drums a bit, but like, actually playing around with musical notation and whatever else. So I do some other stuff that really is needed to understand music a bit more, like not too deep. I'm not talking about some sort of fucking like I'm going really deep in the weeds here. It's just like, you know, some things have come up where I am really having to like think about music instead of just absorbing it and how I feel about it, which has been interesting in piecing together this album and how I feel about it and how I look at things. So yeah, anyway, Hexagons out now. Go listen to it. Don't take my going through it as whatever. But let's go and let's do a fly through of Hexagons, and then I will come back and talk about it.
A marionette with severed strings, gorge on my soul while I'm weak and dying. Haunted by futures I can't avoid, a shape immersed through the fog of war. Synthetic and deformed, and we touched the veil, and it broke our spines. Our resistance is mass-produced, and she will ghostwrite my obsessions. Reach out, touch me, and draw me from the sixth dimension. You have been forcing my hand.
I didn't know unraveling. God damn it! How rude. Unraveling, always just poking out when you don't want it. Let me go back to this a second. There we go. Right, let's get back over here to that. Fucking, the ending is getting me with Hexagons and the wait for the sickness in you and I that comes afterwards. Seeing as that song clearly leads into it. We're on quite a run here on this album, with this being the final song of the middle section. Unless Sickness counts as being part of the middle section too, we will see. But I guess before I deeply get into Hexagons, the riff for the Sickness in You and I was apparently played at the Brixton gig after Psycho, and people have put it together, and it does sound like it works with it does sound like that is leading into the riff that Muse played at the end of Psycho, so, looks like another rocky, aggressive song coming up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but I'm still excited. As a person that dislikes drones a lot, I think it is my least favorite album, along with Simulation Theory, by quite a distance over the rest of them. I'm not a One of the People hater or a Second Law hater. I love those albums a lot, but yeah, drones I used to like, and then it kind of fell away. There might even be a video on here of me talking about drones. I can't remember. It's been so long, but I do not like drones at all. So yeah, but I don't want to sit here and talk about the bad things. I just want to put that across for, I guess, where I'm going to go with this. So my current favorite 3 Muse songs are in order: Map of the Problematique, Bliss, and Panic Station. So, one it's one very electronic song, one mix of all, and then one just very fun song with a bit of funk and a bit of experimentation with the slap bass for Panic Station. And I wanted to talk about Hexagons because very early on it's been building to the point where I feel it is challenging my top 3, which is amazing, especially considering Cryogen is up there with Hysteria for me, which is another top 20 song, and Unraveling is also up there. Be With You is maybe top 50 somewhere, possibly. I'd need to think on it, but Hexagons is hitting a mark for me in a way that I kind of didn't think Muse could do again. Not that they couldn't put a song up there, but just this particular style, because it's a bit of it's a bit of a mix of some Resistance stuff, and not just because of the lyrics that are very much pointing towards the Resistance and Resistance, both the album and the song, I feel, and that era of Muse, but just a particular style of things. I get a bit of exogenesis in there, but the verses in that middle section reminds me an awful lot of Screenager, and a bit of the slower sections of Space Dementia, and I didn't think Muse would ever kind of do this again, especially for a single. And it's kind of special with that, especially combining it with where Muse are now, where they've seemingly got a really good producer locking them in a particular way to keep them focused on a song. They've got great mixing going on here, and just the production work is amazing on this album as a whole, and I really enjoyed it on One of the People as well, except for I agree with some people where Kill or Be Killed had low, the bass was a bit too low in the mix, and a few other things, but generally the production has been really good in how everything sounds, and this song is no different. That opening bit with the tappy guitar and the synths building. Lower this audio a second a bit. This bit here, I'm just going on through it. very very Van Halen, of course, very very Eddie. And how it goes, and that kind of 70s, 80s, whether it be some of like the more mainstream pop metal or like even verging on proggy stuff a bit. There is just something there that hits so well. But then include the toms. The toms sound so good. I love the sound of the drums in this on this song and this album as a whole. The snare is like a really great reverb room sound kind of thing to it at some point, it feels like, and that is just perfection. And I love the build of this, and it's a very long intro, and we've already like had a long outro with Cryogen, and I feel like I much prefer Muse doing these sort of like instrumental lengthenings of songs than, say, what I dislike on Stimulation Theory, and to an extent Drones, I think, like Psycho, where we get maybe like a chorus too far, and it has to follow that like very basic pop formula, and then maybe like add in another chorus or something like that, when it should be cut short because there isn't anything too interesting going on in there. Now, obviously, this is all subjective, and someone might not find this intro very interesting, but I think like sonically, it's mixed in a certain way that it just sounds great. Like, I love the slowing down of the guitar here and there, what feels like slowing down, and then the what is the like with syncopation, I guess, maybe with some like the extra guitar bits coming in, and then the arpeggios floating through, and then the toms mixed with the like heavy, just like brrr, like fucking arena rock sound blasting through as if like you are blasting off somewhere. And how mechanical and electronic and like just computerized everything feels with those synths. And I guess like it's just like a very dramatic sci-fi bombastic soundtrack almost to that intro, which is really epic. Fucking I can picture lasers and ships and everything going off, and it really hits. And then going into, take this down a bit more, like going into this bit where like where it dies down, and then you're like almost like in the blastness of space. So like the first like minute 20 seconds, like I can just immediately visualize going through the atmosphere and then bursting into space as doing whatever, before the rest of the song hits. It reminds me a lot of how I felt with Isolated System on the Second Law. I think that is like Muse's best instrumental piece that they've done. And you might say they've not done too many, but they've done a good few. Like even including, if I wanted to include that light stuff too, like it's Isolated System is like far and away some of the best things, because just the way the movement goes and the piano goes in that song and the synths, and then the vocals off the clips of new stuff and all that. It's just like it kind of feels like it lifts me up and moves me, and this song does the same. Before it then, like, it goes into this middle section and it hits with this really heavy melancholy, and it seems to just slow it down. And this is one of the first times I was ever able to pick up something going into like 6/4, or I mean, some people might want to note it down as 3/4 or whatever. But Muse don't really play around with time signatures too much, and I feel like this like kind of stretched out emotion here leads to a more vulnerable and personal feel with how the song works out, and especially including how Matt's vocals sound.
I'm a marionette with severed strings, gorge on my soul while I'm weak and dying.
So again, the building arpeggios in the background, just like going up, like kind of taking you into something, while the mixing on Matt's vocals and how it sounds with the acoustic guitar, it's very it's very in your face and ethereal almost as well, and then like you're being drawn towards the arpeggios off in the background. Like I fucking love the production in this and how it's pieced together and just how it's made as a song visually for what it does. I often, I this channel has a lot of gaming stuff on it. My Twitch is 95% gaming with 4% talking about Muse and then 1% other music. But I really appreciate something that will try and evoke synesthesia like things of visuals and that. But like, especially whenever you get like a song that is just visual and how it sounds and kind of can lift you through something is very special. And Muse has always had a knack at doing that for me, even in the bad albums. You know, I feel like the Dark Side does it on Simulation Theory, and but this side of it and this like letting you be guided and felt with the synths and the arpeggios and that is something that kind of lost along the way, especially disappointingly with Simulation Theory as an album. Algorithm is a fine song, but I feel like it's just there and it exists for me. There's not like really any thought process behind why it's pieced together too much. It feels like they were just going for a we've got to be bombastic, but this feels like bombastic with a point to it. Especially like including the lyrics and all that too. I feel like, you know, there's something like very vulnerable and personal about the way Matt sings versus a performative nature that comes out of a lot of other Matt songs. Not that there's anything wrong with being performative. In some songs it works. I think Guiding Light it really works until there's like a bit of vulnerability at the end. And I feel like Be With You has that kind of performative side of Muse on this album. So like it's not like it doesn't work, but there's just something you got to be really catchy with that kind of thing, in my opinion. And obviously, again, subjectivity. People can like whatever. But Hexagons, Cryogen, and Unraveling have brought like back this kind of very personal side of Matt and Matt's writing that hasn't been around properly in a long while or hasn't come through this way. And you know, people can speculate as to why that is or whatever and whatever else, but like just trying to take it from the surface level point of view, it just feels so real. And I for the release of Will of the People, I used the word earnest a lot when Matt was talking about, say, like cults and the modern zeitgeist and how things were with anxiety during COVID and all that. There was certainly an earnestness, I think, behind a lot of the themes and theories going on there. And then this just feels more human and more real, which just adds something to it. I think that's what, say, again, I don't want to talk about drones too much, but that's what I've always felt drones lacked, was a real belief in the concept. And some people can like think of something that isn't related to them and do like a third person thing and write it well. I don't personally think Matt can do that too well, and I think that was a big distraction as far as the concept goes with drones and and trying to write that with the protagonist as was. So, you know, this is sort of more back to like Origins of Symmetry, Absolution stuff, and where, you know, you've got that like personal flavor and humanity mixed in with an overarching concept seemingly of, you know, spacey stuff. And having Space Muse back too with this is absolutely wild. And I think this is, you know, this all just sounds great. Like even just a minute 40 in, I was already like hooked on this. I couldn't be any happier. And you know, so like we've now gone for this like build bit as we build back up through like this melancholy and this like lonely guy out in the middle of space or whatever way you want to picture it, and then, you know, we build back up into I feel like that kind of flowing nature of the bass and the guitar and the synth, then with the arpeggios, it's very Exogenesis, but kind of Exogenesis meets the likes of Bliss and MK Ultra, and where those songs sit in the discography, and makes it feel fresh, because I feel like this is a mix that Muse have never properly done before, especially this well produced. It's great. It's just really great.
Haunted by futures I can't avoid.
I love the sound of that snare so much, just the snap on the 2 and the 5.
Shape immersed through the fog of war.
I can't speak enough about how much I love those like arpeggios, and just how digitized and just fucking spacey. I can't even like bring into words for it. It took me like 36 hours to really come up with anything heavy that I could like talk about with this, just because like I was so blown away. It was hard to piece together everything that was going on in my head with this. So this is also going to probably come across a bit scattergun, but I in terms of like getting my thoughts out in this video. But I've always thought that was like kind of an appeal in itself, just for that emotional processing of the song, even for a niche side of the internet maybe. But it's really, really special. And then the next bit with the synthetic and divine just screams prime exogenesis to me. And I never thought Matt would do something like this again, with how angelic is probably not the word, but like it just sounds so immense and powerful, yet so delicate and fragile. Kind of operatic.
And deformed, and we touched the veil, and it broke our spines.
I think the way Matt sings "Broke Our Spines" is also very classic, like "Sing for Absolution," glorious. That era of music easily. There's just something to it that like is just so. It comes across as a lot more natural than just like a hey, I'm going strong in a like, you know, campy sense, or maybe campy's not the word, but like just that, you know, again, overly performative, I would say, and just coming across as trying to be loud and emotional versus actually being loud and emotional. You know, it's that reality to it. You know, it really draws me in and just like makes me feel the song, and I'm just like, yeah. And then, you know, go along with that driving bass and the, you know, the arpeggios kind of being the guardrails on the side to like keep you locked in and moving on, and maybe the lights and additions to keep you focused on as far as like a visual identity for the song goes as I continue through it. I that is very special. I think this is where I wanted them to go with simulation theory and exploring their selves, and then including like a bit of a synthwave thing into it. I'll come back to the synthwave topic at the end if I can remember.
Resistance is mass-produced, and she will construct my obsessions. Reach out, touch me, and draw me from the sixth dimension.
Such a great chorus. They've really hit a lot of great choruses in this album, and you know, Unraveling has very interesting harmonies going on, but this is such classic Muse in terms of where the harmonies are coming in this with the chorus and how the backing vocals are. This is something I feel that they've really lost track of, and I know people dislike the Queen style vibes, and I think I think of songs like Liberation where they obviously just like fully ham it up, and I think that's okay. United States of Eurasia is great, I think, but it's been a while since I feel like it just felt like guys singing in this is evoking like kind of like a it's very well produced and very heavily produced, but you can still like kind of feel them performing it versus I guess the less raw nature of doing like those sort of like Queen-esque vocals and those harmonies in there. And this which probably helps us feel a bit more real. It's not like it's that important. It's not like I don't like any of the songs that have that, but I think what the vibe is going for, there are probably there are other songs where I feel it could have used these backing vocals because it would have suited the song more, rather than this, which is like feels so grounded yet floaty for that like kind of like double body hit of like you want to like fucking float off into space, but also just like the gravity of the song itself is also pulling you down. Like it's kind of like a body fuck for me, and not even just a mind fuck, but like a full body fuck. Who doesn't love a good full body fuck? But this is the body fucking song, and other bands have played with that, and Muse have played with that, but I think this is the best Muse I've ever done with doing that kind of like using the music to take you in multiple directions and pull you all over the place emotionally at once, and that is amazing because at least it's something that sounds very interesting, and then it has meat on the bones as far as the lyrics go, which I will come to. And I guess what I'm saying is all that together is like kind of what is making this just feel like a very special song from a band that I love to bits. I'm gonna end up crying at some point. Fucking like I cried 5 times listening to this over the weekend because I've appreciated Cryogen so much and Unraveling so much and Be With You so much. And having really liked One of the People, considering how much I was pulled out of enjoying the band with, hating Dig Down, worst song of all time, or certainly worst Muse song, and how bad some of that stuff ended up being, and how far away it was from the band that got me into them as a 14-year-old. Being at this situation with Hexagons and that, I just feel so lucky to like live at the same time as this happening, and to experience something that I can attach myself to musically and be like, this is like this is something that represents me as a person, not the Tinder style, oh my personality is The Office or something like that, but like just something that like helps me express myself with being able to focus myself in and around it, and realize how I feel about the song, and realize like how I react to it, and something that again pulls me all those different ways emotionally. Not every song has to be like that. Panic Station is in my top 3, so it's not, it doesn't need to be like that, but I think it takes a lot to hit that kind of spot for me where it can do that, and that is why Hexagons is like a top 3 possibility right now. It's going to be a long road before I can decide that. Like, give it like a year and actually seeing it live. Fucking hope they perform it live and a lot of things, but this is a very special release and has really made me feel something that I thought was like never possible again with this band, and that means the absolute world to me. And I appreciate Matt releasing this, and I find the release process of this album very interesting. I'm gonna like divert away from the song a bit for a second, and go on a bit of a tangent, but like it's not even a year since Unraveling released, and they talked about how they only put that song together for this for the festival tour in the summer and some heavier gigs that they were doing, and they wanted to like release something, and so like they did the 8 string song on Unraveling, and we're like it sounded like they weren't going to have like an album ready anytime soon, but yeah, it feels like this album was essentially ready to go from like before the end of the year. So it feels like they just hit like some sort of creative spark and quickly got these out there. Again, like, you know, talking about drones, it feels very, you know, we have to. I had a friend that said it was like, you know, like doing poetry from homework versus doing poetry because you feel it, you know. And again, this is all subjective, and obviously like I'm relating heavily to the song, so I can color things different, but in my opinion it just feels like they've hit a certain spot where they know what they're doing and can feel what they're doing, and just like, okay, so this is perfect, and then are being constrained by the right people and put inside like a spot and like being held back in area. Maybe they're doing it themselves as well. Maybe they've learned enough to not do like a simulation theory again and do the likes of Pressure and whatever else, where they just let themselves like wander off in an uninteresting direction for too long. Whereas this feels like, ooh, we're playing around with this creatively. What if we add this in? But also I've got this to say too. So why don't we throw that in and get whatever in there? Like, it feels like it's just that like perfect marriage of, you know, real humanity with like a creative spirit and a creative sprite that is just fucking absolutely mega epic. So yeah, like as far as the song music goes, you know, it goes with that, and it does like this breakdown again, like this little bridge bit, and then it goes back into the chorus, and then we go back to the outro. There's a section here in the outro that I really like, that I didn't notice as much in listening to the YouTube video, but getting the actual high quality song version. So that build of background arpeggios at around like 440 didn't come through as clear in the .mu version and the YouTube version. They really go sonically all out for the song here, and you know, repeating that intro with the tapping and going out with it, and kind of doing that like epic, like almost algorithm-esque outro here. Those very loud toms, those very high toms. So yeah, like, and then building out into Seemingly Sickness and You and I. Very, very special. I think it's very well built for a 5.5 minute song. It doesn't feel like 5.5 minutes to me, probably because of the way the sections are put out. But you know, the intro is obviously very much its own thing. But I feel by the end, the outro being a repeat feels like it blends in so well to the song that it just feels perfect, and it doesn't feel like 5.5 minutes to me, and it leaves me wanting more, in the best ways. Same as like Cryogen kind of did. I know the outro for Cryogen has kind of been like mixed in terms of quality or whatever of people feeling about the outro, but I think it's like, I enjoyed that. But I'll talk about that more, Cryogen more, whenever the album releases and I do like a 20-hour video of me talking through everything. But I don't know. I think the ending chorus is where like I was first started crying in this, or maybe it was like the outro, but there's just like so much to this where I'm just like, wow, these guys feel like they've got like just that creativeness heavily right now, and they're all sounding great. And you know, salutations to everyone in the production of this and in the studio that helped put this together, and the mixing. I assume Dan maybe did the mixing on this again, but I don't know. But it's it hits, and it hits hard. And you know, even then, like, I want to focus on the lyrics a bit too here. So the synthetic and divine bit, we touched the villain broke our spines, like it's very to the point. And, Matt's lyrics are not always subtle, surprisingly, I know. But just, again, the way that he sings synthetic and divine, just that kind of exogenesis vibes and the floating through space aspect and all of that is absolutely awesome. And I just, love the, I guess you could say the Marionette of Severed Strings, Gorge My Soul While We Can Die. You can maybe think of that as similar to esque to the Handler. And the Haunted by Futures I Can't Avoid is a very good line. I think Matt has really hit a new spot lyrically again, where he's just yeah, this is good shit. Again, kind of remind me of Mapping Off the Problematique for style, if not actual reference. But I find the chorus very interesting, and again, without trying to go too deep into speculation or whatever, just the She Will Ghost My Obsession stuff and all that. It's interesting because there's a lot of songs about heartbreak in this album, and kind of moving through grief and anger and just depression and upset, I guess. So this has that, but from a Muse point of view, I find it interesting because Our Resistance is mass produced as the opening to the chorus, but also the bridge of Love Revealed Our Failed Rebellion. Again, with Matt's general lack of subtlety, and I say that in an endearing sense. I don't think everyone needs to be subtle. I think a lot of issues with that sort of lyricism is overblown. I think Compliance especially was very good at evoking that cult fellowship, the cult following nature and how you can get drawn into that. So I don't really feel everything needs subtlety, and I think Matt is generally fine with it, but he did have Dig Down is where it goes too far into the bullshit of just being too straight, that it comes across as the corniest 10-year-old writing this stuff of all time. But Our Resistance is mass produced and Love Revealed Our Failed Rebellion feels very pointed towards the resistance. And I don't think it's unfair to think that, and to take that from the lyrics and this work, that is where things are. It is interesting to hear it. So Our Resistance is mass produced. The song is called Hexagons, and Resistance as an album had a very hexagon heavy motif with the artwork and that. And even then the some of the stage design, the festival screens and stuff that they were running with, were very, very hexagon related. I wonder if there's any point towards their Matt looking at the work here and maybe having a sense of regret is maybe a strong word, but just being did I really do my best here with Our Resistance is mass produced and Love Revealed Our Failed Rebellion? Did they fail in what they were trying to do? With I guess Uprising onwards and where that went and kind of how things were sung about. Did he feel almost lost in the sauce on it, especially looking at Reach Out, Touch Me, and Draw Me from the Sixth Dimension, and that You've Been Forcing My Hand, whether in my theory, is that relating to fans or other influences going on or whatever else, or even because of fan complaints over song stuff and that for years and albums now. There's a few readings in there. I don't want to make a full direct thought on everything, but I just find that the different thought process there that could be got from it interesting if you look at it from Matt being very introspective off their work over their career with this. The She Will Ghost My Sessions could be, again, a relationship thing, or even just, she could be the resistance, and as a concept, not the actual Resistance album or song, but again, that kind of getting lost in the sauce stuff. But yeah, Our Resistance is mass produced just feels very pointed for me, that I don't see why it wouldn't be reflective of maybe some sort of. I'll just say it. Yeah, I'll just use the word in the end. Yeah, like some sort of possible regret over how that ended up. Because again, I feel like there's been like kind of a fire lit under them since One of the People. And while I get that a lot of people don't like One of the People, I still think there are some really good personal takes in that. And um, musically, it doesn't like hit too far away from what I'm into. But I'm intrigued by it, and I'm intrigued to like. I'd love to hear Matt's thoughts on it from like a creative point of view of, you know, um, what was in his mind with this, and maybe if any of that factors in, because I find that very interesting. But even then, taking it at face value and it being like just someone talking about like society and you know us falling apart, and then like whatever going on with space and shit, and however this fits in with the concept of the album is interesting. And this obviously comes after Be With You. It makes me wonder like the intentions behind Be With You and how that is being between Cryogen, a song about like someone like kind of just draining someone's warmth and energy, similar to Dead Inside, but I think written better. And then this being after it and like kind of just being left there. So is it like the stages of grief and then the like is Be With You kind of like the bargaining stage or somewhere along that road of grief and trying to deal with it before like final acceptance, and whether that leads to a good spot or not, with the final song on the album being called Space Debris, who knows? But I feel like there is like a theme going through this, so I'm intrigued by the concept, and I'm excited for where the rest of this album goes. I fucking love the Reach Out Touch Me Draw Me from the Sixth Dimension. This is a sixth song. It runs at 66 BPM. It's in 6/4 in the middle section. Excuse me for the nose noise. I'm getting a bit blocked up, so I'm gonna have to like leave this here in a second. But yeah, it's kind of wild that we're at this point with a song where it just hits in that way, in my opinion. I don't know. It's it's a lot to take in from all around, but with that said, like just this song is very special to me. I love it. There's such a great creative flow going on, and I love the exploration of how the synths work versus the production and mixing on this. It's mixed so well, and that is a thing that Muse lacked throughout much of the first half of their career up through the Resistance, where I feel the mixing and production was maybe not there at all. I say maybe it wasn't there at all. There is like elements where I find the guitar is a bit overproduced and say Newborn and all that. People go on about the raw stuff and whatever else, but I feel there's just there's something lacking with those that like takes you out of it and makes you feel like, yeah, this is a recording. But I don't know. I feel the last couple of albums, but like the Second Law too, they hit a style of production where it kind of assimilates you in with like being in the studio and listening to it, and can really help draw you in and lose yourself in that visual nature of it by, I guess, room noise and whatever else, versus how I would say weak and obviously I would say overly produced stuff like Absolution and Origin of Symmetry are from that point of view. It's a reason why I always like the live versions of songs more, because I feel there was something left behind in the studio versions versus what could have been. So, but Muse have been in the spot for like more than half their career now, where they have been producing, or pretty much exactly half their career now, I guess, where they've been producing good sounding albums in that sense, in my opinion. Something that works better for what I want from how a audio sounds. So and this album seems to be approaching a better than ever spot with that, and if that can be backed up by very high quality songs across the board, then yeah, I think it's not too premature to talk about this being in there with some of Muse's best. I rank One of the People like behind Absolution, Black Holes, and um, Origin of Symmetry, I kind of maybe think of it as just below something like the Second Law, maybe around a Resistance level. Because I really like the Second Law, and also like maybe in with Showbiz, but those are the albums that really matter to me. So if this is up there and has like that good production on top of it too, like this is, album 10 is gonna be like just all I could have ever asked for. And what more do I want? Like I'm so excited to see where they're going with the rest of this, and I, you know, I really want to hear more of Matt's thoughts on the creative process and the concepts and his interest going through this. Even if it's not too deep, like you fucking parts of Origin of Symmetry are like space spiders and whatever else, and whatever other dumb shit while they were on shrooms. So, but I'm excited that Matt seemingly has something to say and something to get out there, and I hope he's doing good. But I really appreciate how creatively diverse and interesting this album has felt so far, while seemingly also being very, very focused on a particular style of thing, whether that's just all because of the same emotion, but I don't know. I'm very intrigued by some of the rest of this album and where it may end up. Anyway, I think that's about it for me. Hopefully this was enjoyable. As I say, like I know it ends up being very tangential and kind of all over the place, but I don't run with a script for a reason. I kind of like the off the top of my head kind of bullshitting or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I like getting my emotions out there, no matter how many people end up listening to it. So hopefully this has been enjoyable for some of you. I don't know. Like and subscribe and all that YouTube stuff. Follow my Twitch. No, genuinely, like I don't know. Come hang out if you're interested. I like hearing Muse opinions, and I feel like I'm in a better spot now mentally myself to converse with people. So I'd love to hear more thoughts if anyone has it on the song, whether you're old or new to the band, and if you listen to this and you're big into simulation theory and drones, don't take it too personally. I hope, like I would love to hear why you love those albums if you've got like a deep thought on it and can heavily explain it. I like that kind of discussion. It's not a point of view, unless it's dig down. Dig down is maybe the one irredeemable thing. Anyway, it's almost an hour of this bullshit. I'm done. Thank you. Goodbye.